Hello, friends. Today's topic is about being married. Are you? Let's rant.
Let me just tell you guys, as a happily married woman, I would never get married again. And I'm just speaking as if Javier kicked the bucket, so to speak, because we all know that's the only way he's getting away from me. There are a lot of reasons I feel this way, but at the top of my list, I feel like around this age, a lot of people have kids. I don't want to inherit your kids, your dogs, your debt. Keep it, please. Another reason, and this is also pretty high on my list, is I have stomach problems. Okay, I'm really comfortable around Javi. 10 years is a long time. You give me a slice of pizza. We are eating pizza for dinner tonight, okay? You give me a slice, it is over for me. And it is over for him, and I'm sorry. You know what he says? This is Tia. I am ripping the place to shreds. And he's like, smells so good, do it again. Do it again. Just messing with me in the grossest, nastiest way possible, but I love it. These pajamas, I've had them on since I bought them. And he's like, girl, bring that ass over here. Like it's the first time you've seen them. They just don't make them like that anymore. Let's be completely honest. You have to program your husband. You have to train him. There are things he brought into this relationship that had to go, okay? That took a lot of time. I don't have that in me anymore. Next time, the only way I'm getting married is for money.
Here are a few reasons why I probably will never get married again. Now, please don't come over here trying to tussle. If marriage is for you and it's working out and it's going good and that's what you still desire, I love that for you. I think a lot of people naturally have the whole white picket fence theory in their head of, I need to have a husband before I have a baby. I need to have a house. I need to have all of these things set in order for it to be raw and perfect. And this is my ideal life. And it sounds good. But then it's like when life starts lifing and doesn't go exactly how you pictured it, now you're disappointed. Now you can't think yourself out of a box because you only planned for that one reality. Overall, I think marriage can be a beautiful thing. The way my life worked out, I actually did it all before 30. I mean, I bought a house, had a baby, traveled the world, did all of this stuff with my partner who turned out to be a super narcissist and pathological liar, but that's another story for another day. In my vows, I lied. I told him that I loved him unconditionally, but I realized shortly after, when he started to break my heart, that I had conditions. You are not going to cheat on me. You will not put me in a position to have to question my self-worth and my value. You're not going to choose people that are not in our marriage over me. And the only one in our marriage is me and you. And the man above, but definitely not your mama. Which is why sometimes a lot of women stay. They don't want to be looked at as a statistic or, they don't want to seem like they failed. And for some reason, I guess women think it's a flex to be married, I guess. I mean, maybe to y'all, man, though. I don't know. Another reason why I probably will never get married again is the risk of it not working out. The stakes are 38,000 times higher and harder to leave when you have now gone through the courts. And you have to be real. I know everyone wants to believe in true love and it lasting and y'all being together forever, but you got to also look at the reality of the situations. If it doesn't work out, what if? Then it doesn't work out, you find yourself in an entire expensive custody battle. Take it from me. Now you find yourself fighting for full custody, having to put your spouse who you once loved with all your heart on child support. Now, against your will, you're thrown into the baby mama, baby daddy life that you always heard of. And it's way more ghetto than what you could have imagined. This may make y'all want to tussle a little bit, but hey, let's just go. Another reason why I probably will never get married is the fact that women are the ones that have to change every single piece of our identity to conform with a man. We take on his last name. We change our credit card last names. We change our IDs. We change every single passports. All of this stuff we change to accommodate and to be a part of a family with a man. To the point where when it's over, now you're still stuck with that man's last name. You change your entire identity for it not to work. I feel like I am perfectly fine being in a monogamous relationship without the legalities of it. Marriage is a contract. Hey, I'm going to take your last name. Hey, you're going to treat me this way. You're going to wear your ring. You're going to do this for me. You're going to provide for me. I am going to love and support you and things like that. And that is amazing until that contract is broken. I just don't believe that I need another $50,000 contract. Unless I'm in like the WNBA or something. As a woman, I feel like it was all risk and minimum reward. And I've come to these conclusions after I've done the work, after my failed marriage, after I've gone to therapy. So this is not one of those like, oh, she can't take accountability type of things at all. I just feel like overall you never really know a person before they've played certain roles.
Look, I am an actively, happily married man, but I can tell you with my entire soul that I would never do this again. I would never, ever get married again to another person as long as I live. I stand 10 toes down on that. The things that my wife and I have worked through, I don't have the patience to work through with anybody else. And I had to grow extra patience just for her. So whatever patience I have for her, it does not carry over to the next person. Because I'll come clean. I've left women for far smaller reasons than whatever we worked through as a couple. But outside of she and I, my patience is on factory setting. My patience is thin enough to see through. But on top of that, I will never mean I love you the same way I mean with her. To build up to where we are now with somebody else, I'm not gonna do. I just don't have it in me to do it. And maybe it's all the days, weeks, years, months, time put in, but I know for a fact that it will never be the same. It will never be better. When you have a good thing the first time around, the second time is just chasing a high. Now, I guess it's different for people who had like an objectively bad relationship the first time around. Of course, you could find something better. But I'm telling you right now, if y'all are having a bad time after 10, 15, 20 years, y'all need to patch that up. Once you really sit and think about it, whatever you think you can get out there, it's not there. Go back to the crib, apologize, talk it out, do whatever you got to do. Stay your ass where you are. But yeah, real talk, this is it. This is my one. This is all I got in me. I ain't got another one in me. So baby, if you're watching this, we in this for life, because I ain't got time for nobody else. We just gonna have to work through it.
It's always good to have two people. If one gets sick, the other came. Take care of you in the house, and also having two incomes helps too.
I want to share with you why I don't ever want to get married again, and I'll share more like the top 3 reasons at the end, but I want to start with the story. Growing up, all I dreamed of, aside from perfect grades, was a perfect man, someone who would sweep me away. I grew up in the 90s, so it was a huge rom-com era. I loved every Meg Ryan movie. I just dreamed of this man. I loved My So-Called Life that came out. I dreamed of my Jared Leto. There was so much that I dreamed of that was outside of my home. And I dreamed of escaping my home because it was so restrictive. And I never felt like myself. I felt like I was constantly being erased. And honestly, things were just boring in my home because it was so restrictive. So all I wanted was a fun guy that I would do stuff with. And when I say do stuff, I mean like literally like go to the movies, like just have fun with and feel in love with and just feel like we were the only 2 people in the world. Such a rom-com era feeling. I've been through enough relationships now to know that relationships are way more than what you see in a rom-com. And I think it's really important for me to name what I was seeking as an escape from my home. And I thought I found that in someone. I married a person who was Indian as well. I'm a daughter of Indian immigrants. He kind of checked a lot of boxes in that he ended up having a pretty stable job, but he also was like a different guy. He loved fish, and he smoked a lot of pot, and, you know, he was definitely a rebel. And while I wasn't like a huge fish fan, I didn't smoke a lot of pot, to me, there was like that difference of being not so square is what I would always say. I'd always say my family is so square and boring, and just being with someone who was exciting like that was awesome, even though there was like a lot of messed up things and a lot of abuse and a lot of like extremism in our relationship. I really wanted to get married. I didn't really want kids, but I had agreed like, sure, maybe we can have kids, when basically he was like, I want kids. And I realized that if I didn't want kids, I was going to lose the relationship. And if I lose the relationship, then that means I'm stuck with my family, and I did not want that. Thankfully, I never got pregnant. But my point is, I saw these relationships as an escape from my family more than I saw it as something beautiful that I could cultivate with someone. And this isn't to blame myself. What do you know when you're 20 years old? You're just going with it, and you're just responding to the stuff you grew up with, as well as cultural and societal norms of getting married. In many ways, I found myself being a nonconformist. There was a lot of things within my culture I wasn't into. I didn't care, for example, about being a doctor or a lawyer. I didn't hang out with certain crowds that, I don't know, just were more normie in the South Asian culture and groups that I was a part of. But thankfully, I also had a lot of amazing South Asian friends who also didn't really want to conform as much as well. But in many ways, I also did want to conform, because conforming often leads to belonging, and we all want to belong. Eventually, I got divorced. It was just not a good relationship for me. We were just straight up not compatible. But I also made a decision that I never wanted to get married again. One big reason I didn't want to get married again was because I read this really great article by Dean Spade, who's a trans activist, called Marriage Will Never Set Us Free. You can Google it. It was written in 2016, shortly after gay marriage became legal. And Dean Spade talks about what marriage is, about how it's a tool of social control, about how it is something that is rooted in colonialism, and that it really is something that is about gendered social norms. Now, I'm not here to knock anyone who wants to get married. I wanted to get married at one point, and so I'm not here to judge. But the whole argument is that, yes, you know, gay people could get married and so many people were celebrating, but they were celebrating something that they could do that was a form of social control of gender that really ended up controlling immigrants, that was xenophobic, something that was really about private property. And that was a huge reason where I was like, why do I need to get married? I can have a partner. I wasn't against having that, but you know, getting married is totally a tool of white supremacy and colonialism, and I just didn't want to do it. Another reason was I also felt like being married obligated me to do certain things. Suddenly, I was part of this different family unit and I had to like attend certain things and do certain things. Now, I'm not saying everyone who's married does that, but that's how I felt in that way. And I just wanted that independence and freedom. And from a feminist perspective, I really wanted that. Because that obligation usually goes on the woman and not the man, at least in hetero relationships. And I can only speak to really hetero relationships because I've only been in heterosexual relationships. And I just didn't want that. I felt like I can have a beautiful relationship with someone and even their family without being married. After I got divorced, I really felt like all marriage was money and things. Because that's what we ended up splitting up after, especially we didn't have kids. So that is why it was just money and things to me. And yes, I definitely lost relationships and that was hard. But I think even if you break up with someone, you lose relationships as well. So to me, that isn't something that's exclusive to marriage. And sure, there is this commitment of being together lifelong. But again, I don't think that's something you cannot have if you are in a partnered relationship. I have a partner for 6 years, and there are times I've wanted to propose to him to get his health insurance. But thankfully, I haven't had to do that. Thankfully, I've figured it out for myself as being a self-employed person. But that might be the only reason I would get married. That and like maybe benefits to visiting someone in the hospital or something like that. I am so happy with my decision. When I was dating before I met my partner, I put that in my profile. I don't want to get married. I don't want kids. And don't think I'll ever really change my mind about it unless, like I said, some type of extreme circumstance happens where it really feels necessary for my survival. I'd love to hear what you think. You know, whether you agree or disagree, I think this is an important topic to talk about because it's such a societal norm. And I think it's important to question all norms. And, you know, I'm not here to say I don't adhere to any societal norms. I definitely do. I'm a cis woman who is middle class, who has a lot of privilege. And I think it's okay if you don't want to conform to societal norms in these ways. And it's okay to question them and say, you know what, I'm not going to do that. Thanks for listening to the end.
Life is easy when you have two people working together, and building together is the key to everything. Life can be tough sometimes, and having that person by your side makes a difference in life. Thank you for watching. Until next video.